So this is something that has been sitting on my shelf for literal years, and we're finally making a video on it. And it's DIY, and it's car related, and it's cheap. So all things to stick around for. Let's get into it. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for a new video. And yes, we're doing DIY mods today. More DIY mods, just like the fender bolts that we did recently. Super cool, cheap, really just looks nice. It looks cool. And this is something that I have been sitting on the shelf for. I made a prototype of this a long time ago, like years ago. It's been sitting on my shelf ever since, all the materials for it at least, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna take another stab at it. I already did a little test for it. It looks really good. But in this video, we're gonna be making custom door pulls for your NC Miata or any car that you can think you can fit this on, but we're doing it in this car. So custom door pulls, yes, you've seen them on like the Porsche GT3 and they look awesome. And you know what? I think you can put them on other cars and they'll look pretty cool too. But this is all the material that I've at least got for this project. Things like a plastic panel puller, the Allen keys for, I had a couple of these little dress up bolts still, and I only need 2. So I have 2, which is great. We've also got these little plastic discs that I ordered. They are 1 inch by 1/8 inch thickness, and they're just like little plastic pieces. And then I've also got this set of rubber grommets. You need 2 of this little 1 inch piece, and I've only got 1 because I used the other one when I did a prototype of this, and it didn't work out very well, and I threw it away, I guess. But you also need some strapping. This is gray vinyl. I got a ton of it, so you can order all kinds of different colors of these. I chose silver to match the silver bits in the interior. I've already made a little loop and cutout of it. Got a new way of drilling a hole in here, so I'll show that to you guys as well. And then these are just our stock handles because I've already removed them from the door. Super easy to do. As long as you're not like me, take the door panel off and take out the screw that's holding in the bottom of it. Otherwise, this part just pops in, and then our little screw that went right there is out as well. So pretty bare, but we're gonna be filling it back in. All of the items that I'm using in this video are gonna be linked down in the description below, besides tools and things like that. But the rubber grommets, the vinyl strap, the little plastic discs, the dress-up bolts that you can also use for your fenders if you want to. Yeah, all that stuff is gonna be down below. So if you wanna do this project at home, hop down below. If you do order those items, it helps out the channel, so thank you in advance. You can make this really however you want to. This is just how I did it, and I think it turned out pretty good. So I'm gonna have to put everything back together, show you guys step by step what the process is. It's really only a few little steps, then we'll throw them in the car, and then you guys can see the final result. All right, so first things first, we need to get our little plastic disc. These ones are, like I said, 1/8 inch thick. They fit into the opening in the door really, really well, and they're pretty nice. If you want, they are glossy. I went with glossy. I think I have a solution to make it a little bit more matte finish, which I thought matched the plastic a little bit better. So this is the original one that I made. I've got it pretty much centered as best as I could get it. And I'm just gonna copy over to this one. Okay, we'll take a punch. And then size-wise, I just made it a little bit bigger than the bolt, so you have like a little bit of wiggle room to adjust things as needed. All we need to do is just go ahead and drill it out. All right, tear that off. Mostly center, and you can always spin it around to kind of adjust it. So if it's not perfectly center, it'll look fine once you get it all set up. And now I want to take these and make them less glossy. So what I found was start off with a sheet of 1,000 grit sandpaper and then take a 3,000 grit sandpaper. Really all you need to do is just kind of roll it around, do one side at a time. So now it's definitely more dull. Spin it around, do a little bit more, just to smooth it out a little bit. Take it over to the 3,000 grit. Just give it a little bit more. Not gonna hurt it. So here you can tell the difference. This is definitely gonna match our interior plastics a little bit better. And next we are going to make our little strap. This is, I kind of just didn't really measure it. I just threw it up there and figured out what was best for my hand, and it was this size. So all I'm gonna do is just double over on this one and then match them to be about the same. Those look good. You're going to end up cutting it down even more anyways, so just kind of get it where it needs to be. And then to kind of seal these together, just grab a lighter and just burn the edges a little bit, and they'll melt together. Since it is like a plasticky vinyl, it's not an actual fabric, it'll just melt basically right together. See, now they're there. Don't pull on it too hard. So if you can, I definitely recommend doing this with like an actual punch, but I don't have one. So I tried drilling out the hole and it just spins, and it doesn't really work as well as I would hope it to. So what I ended up doing is running my drill on a slow setting. Just hold your lighter underneath the drill bit. Doesn't have to get too hot, but you want it to be hot enough to melt that vinyl. And that is good right about there. And then just take your vinyl strapping and press on where you want it, and it goes through buttery smooth. Gives you a nice hole that's about the same size as your bolt as well. So it fits, not too bad. So next we need to do some final trimming. So grab yourself a little bolt, put it through, and just line everything up, because what you're gonna end up doing is you're going to wanna kind of cut these edges around a little bit. So you can take a marker if you want, just kind of mark where the edges need to be, no big deal. Make sure you have some somewhat sharp scissors and just kind of slice right around. Reburn those edges. Now we've got both of our straps ready to go. This one actually turned out pretty good. This is the test one, obviously, but you'll want to just do the same thing basically, and they end up looking pretty good. Grab your little cover disc, your trim discs, grab your bolt, put that through with your finishing washer, put that through your strap, and there is the basic design. It actually ends up working pretty perfectly. This is also an inch strap, so if you go bigger or smaller, I would suggest getting a little circle trim piece that will match that. Otherwise, it doesn't look half bad at all. So let's go install it in the car now. All right, and here is your door. So when you take off the handle and get everything removed out of the way, you're gonna have a hole here. Obviously, we will be covering that. And then you've got your little insert here. There's these little ribs that guide in the old handle. So your disc isn't gonna sink all the way in. It's actually gonna sit pretty flush right on top of here. And just to space things out a little bit, you don't have to do this, but I did a 3 stack of washers just to go behind it. Make sure they're smaller than these ribs so they sit down in there, just to maybe make contact with the door a little bit better. If I were to do this again, I would get like a metal spacer that you can pick up at Home Depot or any hardware store, or a plastic one. But for right now, for testing purposes, basically, we're just gonna do a 3 stack of washers. And then this is the screw that you're gonna be replacing. It's just a basic metal screw. The thread is different than these finishing washers and finishing bolts that I got. So it'll be okay, it's gonna hold in there because they are pretty much the same size, if not a little bit bigger, which will be fine. You'll be able to pull on it, tug on it, close the door, and it'll all work just fine. And when you wanna put this screw back in, the threads are bigger and different, so it'll work just fine. It'll go back in. If you wanna go back to your stock, whatever you're doing. What you'll do is get everything all aligned, place it in there, and get it kind of started. And then your strap is gonna sit just like this. It's not gonna sit straight down. You want it like this to cover up any of the gaps on the sides and fit in there just like that. And then start screwing everything in, keeping your disc aligned to the top. And if it's not aligned perfectly, you can always spin it because that centering hole isn't perfectly centered. You see now that it's grabbed in there, I'll pull on my strap, keep tightening it down until everything looks flush, which is right there. And there it is, simple as that, and it looks awesome. And the great thing about all this is it's not permanent. You can take this off, throw your old handle on as easily as you put this on. And then down here for this hole, we're gonna be plugging it with the rubber grommet, the 1-inch rubber grommet. And I just slide it into the edges here. And once it's in, give it a little wiggle, spin it. You know, you can kind of conform it to the shape of that hole, even though it's an oval. Perfect. So everything is covered down here. You just have this little rubber dot, basically that's it. But otherwise, this looks really, really nice. I love how it looks. The plastic disc sanded matches all of our plastic really, really well instead of the glossy one. The finishing bolt looks really good, and that's it. So I'm tugging on it pretty good here, and it's not even moving, but I really like it. Set it like that, and you basically have a Porsche GT3. So your door will function just fine. You can grab it by here. Sometimes I grab it by here if the window's open, but if you're in the car and you need to close the door, you just grab your pull strap, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, whatever you prefer in that situation, close it up, and boom, you're good to go. You have all this room for your hand to go in and out. It's gonna be way easier to grab bottles. You don't have to do this, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this. You can just grab it right out of there, bottles, cans, whatever suits your fancy as far as drinks go, but otherwise, I mean, lots of room. My knee can sit up here a little bit better. Sometimes when you're driving, you need to stretch your knee out. You've got all this extra space now to do it, and it looks super race car, and I think it looks really good for DIY. Obviously, it's not the most perfect, made for this car sort of thing, but with the materials that I got, I think that looks pretty damn good, and it works. So what more can you ask for? So like I said, easily reversible, easy to make, easy to install, and I think that just looks really good. It adds a little bit of race car flair to the interior, and it's not super obvious outside of here that it's DIY. I mean, this looks good with the finishing bolt and the finishing washer, our little strap and everything. It all just looks good, and I like it. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This was a fun project. Gets me back to my roots of, you know, DIY little things here and there, make your car more personalized. You can do different colored straps. You can do different colored bolts. You can do different whatever. Go down in the comments and let me know if you do this and how you do it differently. I'd love to hear how you've made this yourself or plan on making it in the future. But for now, I'm gonna close out the video. Thanks so much for joining us. And I just realized this is the first mod of 2024. So happy 2024, everybody. Hope your year is off to a great start. So far, so good for me. We worked in the garage, we worked on car parts, we did DIY, love all those things. And thank you guys for all the new people who have subscribed to the channel, who are watching in 2024. Thanks so much for joining. Go down below and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up, leave your comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one.